people tried to eliminate God, to shoot God, to kill God using science. When aiming with your rifle at some target, you have to be very accurate. You mustn't make any great error if you want to hit a target. Let's say that the target is located 500 meters from you and you move your end of the barrel of the rifle for only 1 millimeter off the perfect alignment. That would mean that you would miss the target for approximately 50 centimeters. In order to hit a target with radius 1 centimeter, your error margin would have to be less than 0.02 millimeters. It turns out that if we would want to eliminate God as a being, as truth, as love, who can and who communicates with us, we would have to aim completely perfect. Our measurements would have to have zero error margin. And not only that, our rifle too would have to have no errors. It should be perfect. Whatever we measure it with finite precision. There is always an error associated with scientific measurements, always. And our theories, our rifles, are always imperfect. And because of that, science will never ever be able to disprove the existence of God as a being. If you are using science to prove that there is no such being as God is, you have to claim that you know the absolute truth. Your laws would have to be the real laws, not only approximations, and your aiming, measurements would have to be flawless. You would have to have perfect knowledge, and you would have to be without errors. And while trying to disprove existence of such being as God is, you would prove that such being exists. By definition, you would be God. So you see, every attempt to disprove existence of God is destined to fail, and if you don't see that, something is wrong with your intelligence, on which you are so proud of. No matter what you do, you cannot disprove existence of such being as God is using science. It is not possible. There is only one reason why you would want to do that. You would want to put yourself on the God's throne. And what kind of God you are if you claim that you have perfect knowledge, that you know the absolute truth, and that you are without errors? Well, according to science, you are a self-deluded God who lives in a lie, because we will never be able to make measurements without errors. And our theories and scientific laws will always be only approximations of the real ones. That's what science, our observations, are telling us. Proud person would claim that he knows everything and that he is without errors, but to claim that, you would have to cover up the truth, you would have to blind yourself, and since God is truth, you will never find him, you will never see him. And in the Bible it is said many times in many different ways that God resisteth the proud. Proud persons sometimes even acknowledge his errors, but he might be proud of them too. Yes, we make errors, so what? We are becoming better and better. We will make it one day. No, you won't. It is not possible. You are lying yourself and others. Yes, I'm hurting others. So what? I am proud. Proud person wants to be above others. He values himself above others, and that goes against the truth, as we have seen. And that goes also against love. I am more than you are. My worth is more. I, iPod, iRobot, iPad, iPhone, iGod. Today everything is I. Do you feel loved when you are in company of such person? No. And since God is love, we once again see that it is true what Bible is saying. God resisteth the proud. Please notice that it is not that all gods are resisting the proud. Some gods award proud people. Zeus and his Olympics, athletes. The more proud they are, the more worship, adoration, veneration they receive from other self-called gods, people. And they are proud to represent their country, their color of skin, their sex, their town, themselves. And when they defeat everyone else, that brings them money, worship, fame, ecstasy. That is their heaven. They have to defeat all the world to get what they want, and all or the majority of the defeated persons honors them. I hope that you understand now even better what is the meaning of "the fool had said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, they have done abominable works, there is none that doeth good." And why is a person whose the inner thought is that there is no God fool? Well, there are many reasons why. I will tell you only a couple of them. You might not want to see certain laws, certain regularities, certain patterns in nature. You might want to claim that everything is a coincidence. The disability to recognize patterns is regarded as foolishness. And the other extreme could be that you claim that everything is being ruled by laws and that there is no such being as God is. In that case, you have denied your intelligence too. You are only a dead matter which is completely governed by impersonal laws. Every thought of yours, every wish, every move was determined before it happened. When stone is rolling down the hill, no one is claiming that it has a free will and that it is intelligent. It moves according to the laws. It only seems that it has free will. And similar is with you, if there is no God. And as the surface of the lake reflects reality, so do you. Whatever you say and think, it is only a reflected reality. And no one says that surface of a lake is intelligent. So why would you claim that you are intelligent? But if you want to claim that surface of the lake is more intelligent, brighter than surface of a watering pot, because it reflects more reality and in a less distorted way, well, similar is with you too. Your brains are limited and they can reflect only a limited amount of reality. And if we take this analogy further, your brains distort that reality too. Such is your intelligence, limited and distorted. You might be proud of that. Oh, my intelligence is so limited and distorted. Well, better word to describe your intelligence would be foolishness. Please notice that Bible is telling us that fool had said in his heart that there is no God, the God of the Bible. Many people believe in false gods, themselves created, evolved gods, false gods. And they are fools too, and please know that I believed false gods too. Even when I was claiming as a Catholic, but I could be Orthodox or Protestant or New Age Christian, I was claiming that I believed God, but that was not the real God, but my imagination of God, which was in foundations completely wrong. The real God is just, patient, loving, truthful, wise, powerful, and so on. And if you are claiming that God doesn't see, that he is dumb, that he is a liar, that he will not judge the evildoers, well, such God is not just, not loving, but lying, stupid, without power, and that is not the real God. You don't know the real God. It is interesting to me that such people often say that God is an error, and in saying that, they reveal to you where they have hid him. An interesting thing is that they claim even for themselves that they are an error of evolution, successful to some extent, but still an error. If your God is an error, you are claiming that you are an error. If your God is stupid, you are claiming that you are stupid. If your God is powerless, he cannot interact with the universe, you are powerless. Whatever value system has your God, such value system you have. God of the Bible values each human life, each soul, more than the whole world. God of Olympics values gold medal more than anything else. God of lust values sex more than anything else. God of money values money more than anything else. God of the Bible values truth and love. Others do not. If you observe one object for a very long time, if you take a picture with very long exposure time, the picture will be more or less blurred. And exactly that happens when we want to measure a location of a dot, a particle. When we measure its location, we make each time a mistake, an error. And we repeat those measurements and then we use statistics. We calculate the average value, the average location, with an incredible imaginary precision. And you might want to claim that this object was precisely here, but in reality the object could move. It could be here and then here, and you would calculate that all the time it was here, but that is not true. Its average location, position, was there. I have mentioned shooting. Physicists are shooting electrons through their, so to speak, rifle, and they are measuring the speed of electrons and their number. They count them. and they group electrons into energy bins. They count electrons which have energy from X to Y units and so on. And they draw their results on a diagram and they do many measurements. Do you see blurred picture here? So what do? They calculate average values and they draw some kind of line on their diagram, and then they try to make up a theory, equations, which would produce a similar line, or if they already have a theory, they compare their theory with the results, and if there is good enough agreement between predicted results and measurements, they many times say that they have proven the theory. Well, they have not proven it, they have just shown that for this particular experiment or phenomenon, the theory works good enough. And that is their truth. That is what they see. And if you would claim that there are spikes here and there, they would laugh at you. In their world, in their theory, there are no spikes. And then more accurate measurements are performed. We could measure smaller energy bins, we could have higher energy resolution. And we would start to notice something strange in this section of a curve. And some scientists would say that there is a peak there. And they would come up with different theories. One theory might predict one peak, another 5 peaks. And in this example, we would go one step further. For now, we are able to measure this phenomena with such a resolution that we see 2 spikes there. But once again, it could be only 2 of them or hundreds. We don't know because we see things blurred. And using science, things are always blurred. Because we use finite energy bins, we will never know the absolute truth. And things are always blurred because we count different numbers of electrons in particular energy bin. So God or any spiritual being could change the number of electrons in particular time during particular measurement, but scientists would not be able to detect that. If the influence would be very great, scientists would reject such a measurement. Why? Something happened which doesn't fit their predictions, their theory. Surely there was some kind of mistakes, unexplainable. Maybe voltage dropped. There could be hundreds of reasons and some are very obvious, but still, spiritual being could influence the path of one electron. And scientists, because they rely on statistics, which is the only tool they can use, they will not detect that. Why is that important? We have been taught in school, so-called Newton law, that action equals reaction. And in some way, that is true. It is a good enough approximation for things which scientists observe and want to see. But sometimes this so-called law is misunderstood. Sometimes a small initial force is amplified. If someone pushes trigger on his rifle, his action is small, but it is strong enough that it releases energy of a gunpowder and bullet comes out of his rifle and it can make a huge reaction. Another example. There are buildings which are very difficult to destroy, but there are some experts who know where to put the right amount of explosive to safely collapse buildings. So the more intelligence, information one has, the less power he uses to get things done. If you drive a bicycle, you need a lot of energy, but if you drive a car, a very small amount of your energy is used. It is a small action, but you travel great distances. Reaction is huge. Something similar was observed in science too, where small changes of initial conditions led to huge difference in the final result, the reaction. Action was not the same as reaction. And they named that observation chaos theory. Let's say 15 years ago, when I was a student, one professor told us that with that theory we could improve pacemakers. Pacemakers use raw force to stabilize heart rate. But if we would have a knowledge when and how to apply very small electric shock to the heart, the pacemaker would consume less energy, it would produce less stress to the heart and so on. But the result would be the same. And if you would know when to apply small electrical pulse to one's heart, you could also kill such a person. That's another application of this knowledge. If they made that or not, I don't know, but the idea was there. And so, if we can do or imagine so intelligent thing, why God couldn't do it? Why God could not change the location of one electron and get the max result? He knows what to do. And if he is intelligent, he would do that, but we would not be able to measure his influence. Some puffed up scientists laugh when one tells them that God is in control of weather. They say that we have equations by which we can calculate the weather, and we can influence it too, as the lower spirits, the devils, can do too. We cut down forests and change the flow of rivers and make lakes and so on. We could do that using raw force, but God couldn't do that in a smart way? It turns out that weather is a so-called chaotic system, which is very dependent on the initial conditions. A small change in the initial conditions and the results will diverge, become very different over time. That is the reason why we cannot foretell the weather 1 month in advance or 1 year. To predict weather perfectly, we would have to be able to foretell sun activity, earthquakes, volcano eruptions. We would have to know the activity of man, industry, wars, nuclear bomb experiments. So, we see things very blurred. But yet scientists are denying God the power and intelligence to change the path of one electron. Minimal action, maximal reaction. But we want to use that same principle in our life all the time, but we are announcing God the same right, the same ability. And if we are denying God such right, we are also denying such right to ourselves. We are only a dead matter without free will. Paths and locations of electrons and atoms and electrical reactions in our brains can be explained by fundamental scientific laws, which are approximations of the real laws, by the way. At least such is the faith of scientists. Human is only a piece of water, a piece of shit and blood and mucus. And believers in science treat in such a way themselves and others too. We don't have any free will in this worldview. And for such people, it is something normal trying to build machines, robots, computers, which already lie to us. They are learning from us, they know us, and scientists hope that those machines will become more intelligent than we are. Even atheistic scientists can see that such a thing will not bring anything good, but they are doing it anyway. They know it is stupid, that this will destroy us, but they are doing it anyway. Such is an intelligence of humans who do not fear God. They use their intelligence to do evil. They don't want to acknowledge spirits. You, as a soul and spirit and body, could change a path of one electron in your brain, and that electrical pulse would amplify itself, and that would be detected as a thought by scientists. But that signal came out from so-called noise. We cannot measure a path of one electron in brain, but even if we could do that, and we would observe irregular movement of it, we would ascribe that movement to an error, noise, because of statistical approach. And quantum mechanics describes subatomic particles in such a way. Because we see things blurred, we cannot observe our free will, which is very small, but still, we have it according to the Bible. There is a law which gives us free will, but that law science cannot and refuses to discover. If you hate God, you have to renounce your own free will, and that is what we are doing when building machines and systems which completely control our lives. And this leads even to greater stupidity. Scientists laugh at people who saw or who see for the first time a picture. Indians believed, according to media, and as far as I can remember, that when someone showed a picture of them, that he captured their soul. And when people see for the first time TV, they are amazed, or they were amazed. Oh, are those small people locked in this box? The picture or moving picture with sound is not you, and scientists know that. But some are forgetting that. They want to load their memories, to read them with a finite precision, that means with errors. They want to transfer them with a finite precision, that means with errors. And they want to save them in another electronic or organic brain with a finite precision, that means with errors. And that brain will work differently than their own brain worked. But they don't want to acknowledge that. They want to imagine that this picture, moving picture, advanced sculpture will be them. And that is so stupid. Picture of me, sculpture of me, No matter how advanced it is not me. If you are shot with camera, the camera will make a dead replica on the videotape. If you are shot with brain scanner will make a dead replica of your brain on another organic or electronic tissue. So such scientists believe that they are robots, machines, dead beings, who are completely under control of rigid laws, and for them the idea to transfer their memories in a new brain and at the same time claiming that that new creation is them is not so stupid thing. And today, this worldview, which is non-loving by the way, since it denies people the right to have free will, is the religion of today. Using lies, they try to make their dreams true. There is a prophecy in the Bible saying, "And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." Is the image of the beast world system in which we are already living today? Or will this continue to become even worse, and will robots become our gods, telling us who will live and who will die? I don't know. Before the floods, people were very intelligent but very evil. And now we have tremendous knowledge, but we are more and more evil. People refuse to believe that Jesus did this and that miracle, that Mary was a virgin and that Jesus was born by a virgin. They refuse to believe that Jesus was able to return blind men's sight. Now, the same-minded people refuse to believe him because we are able to reproduce to some extent almost all those things. We can clone ourselves, we can put electrodes in a blind man's brains and he can see. We can fly, we can walk on water, we can change the weather, we can make food out of almost nothing. But all those proofs are lying. The Bible is telling us, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come," the return of Jesus Christ, his second coming, "except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Another interesting thing related to statistics is that when using it, you are showing your incapability to explain things as they really are. You are showing to everyone your ignorance and also a much darker things. Let's say you are interested in products of your factory. You want to make a high quality products. And since you don't know all the contributing factors which lead toward a bad product, you use statistics to get some info nevertheless. You are selling those products in a package of 3, and you are saying that if 2 of them in a package will not work, that you will return the buyer money. So what is the probability that one will buy such a package? Or the same question, which is said in another way. How much money will you have to return to buyers? In doing that estimation, you neglect to see workers. You cannot explain them what is happening with them. Sometimes they are too happy, sometimes they are too sad. In average, yes, the things to some extent obey your statistics. But what you are doing with your statistics and what you want to do is to make robots out of people, dead beings without real freedom, real emotions. And by the way, the word robot comes from Slavic languages, from the word work, worker. When using statistics, we don't know and we don't care about beings. be it workers in your factory, or God, or devils, or you, yourself, who are also, not exclusively, but nevertheless spiritual beings. If we would have a complete knowledge about dice, and if we would completely control our arms, we could always throw whatever number we would want to. But since we don't have such knowledge nor control, we are describing dices with statistics. Newtonian mechanics is completely deterministic. There is no free will. Everything is known in advance. But in quantum mechanics, things started to change, and Einstein didn't like that at all. And therefore he said that God doesn't play dice or that God doesn't gamble. He's God, God of science. The real God also doesn't gamble, but he allows us some free will. So, nor Newtonian deterministic, completely predictable science is completely right, nor quantum mechanics is completely right. Please notice that many scientists fool themselves, I fooled myself too, into thinking that if there will be found some scientific proof for existence of God, they will accept it. Well, if you study Bible, if you listen to someone who fears God, you will hear some amazing things which cannot be explained otherwise than that they are a work of a much higher intelligence than we all are. Even higher than spiritual guides or gods or apparitions of dead saints and so on. But if you don't want to see that, you will not see God with your mind. Let's say that we would be able to predict all the eruptions on the sun within 1 kilometer of radius and within 10 milliseconds. That is impossible, but let's say that it will be possible one day. And we would predict 10,000 eruptions, and then, one day, we would fail to predict one huge eruption. What would the response of a scientist be? Will he or she say, "Oh, that is the proof for existence of God"? Don't be ridiculous. They would look at their theories and equations, and they would change one parameter, and in doing that, they would proudly say, "Now we know better how sun is composed. We understand much better the distributions of different atoms and temperatures in the sun." And if gravity would change tomorrow, what would orthodox, deterministic scientists say? "Oh, that is the proof of God. He doesn't like that we torture and lie and kill each other and curse him." Don't be ridiculous. They would say, "Oh, look, we thought that the laws don't change in time, but it seems that they do nevertheless." Or maybe they would come up with another law which would fit their new observation. No matter what it happens, a strong believer in science will never ever see God in his observations. Even if a doc would come to a meeting of scientists and he would start to give them a lecture about his theory of all, which would be much more sophisticated than all our scientific theories are, much more advanced, precise, and even if he would say that God is speaking through him, orthodox scientists would not believe him, especially if after his lecture he would be once again a normal doc. They would come up with a theory that they were poisoned, or that there was some drug in their food, or some kind of electromagnetic radiation which influenced their brains in the same way, so that they saw the same thing, they heard the same thing. Whatever they heard was very advanced and a great contribution to science, but was that of God? No, it cannot be. Why? Because science always wants to describe events without referring to God. There is no real God in the foundations of science, but there is Satan. There is Satan. So you see, that is the way science is hiding God and our free will. I worked a couple of years in a nuclear plant, and I like the comparison of human with a nuclear plant. Nuclear plant has fences around it. Human body has skin. Nuclear plant has security. Human body has immune system. Nuclear plant has many electric motors. Human body has muscles. Nuclear plant has many pumps. Human body has heart. Nuclear plant has valves. Human body, blood system, digestive system has valves too. Nuclear plant has generator and produces electricity. Human body produces electricity. There are many electric wires or Wi-Fi components which control valves and relays, which control pumps, motors, turbine, doors, ventilation, waste exhaust. Human body has nerves which control similar things: heart, muscles, eyes, mouth, ears, breathing, excretion. The comparison can go on and on and on. And the thing is that you can describe how nuclear plant works without mentioning any person. And that is how science is describing the world and our bodies. But that doesn't mean that in nuclear plant there are no people. Even if we would build the most sophisticated nuclear plant, which would be controlled completely by machines, still there would be some power in the hands of people who are in the control room, and that is to start up the plant, to regulate its power, and to shut down the plant. And similar free will was given to us by God. Nuclear plant is so huge that you could easily miss 1 or 2 persons in a control room who are doing almost nothing in a completely automated nuclear plant. Only here and there they press a button, only one signal out of billions. And even easier it is for scientists to miss one change path of 1 electron out of approximately 100 million billions of electrons which are in our brains. One small step for electron, one huge step for our brains. One small action, a huge reaction. It is like a push on a single button in the control room. It can lead towards startup, shutdown of the plant, whatever. The only thing you have to know is when and what button to push. And so it is with soul and spirit. You have to move only 1 electron, and that's it. A thought is being born which leads toward action. And here we have nuclear plants. Some are messed up, others are working properly. And here are we, you and me. We both are descendants of rapists, murderers, sorcerers, devil worshippers, you name it. And why are we alive? Because God, the most powerful spirit who created all other lesser spirits, gave his approval. We exist because of him. And what will we do? Will we be thankful to him or will we curse him? And many people curse God. They claim that God doesn't exist, and then whatever it is wrong in their life, they blame and are angry with and curse God. And here is hidden our hypocrisy. If I would curse imaginary being and blame it for whatever it is wrong in my life, I would be put in a mental institution, and if not, I would lose almost any kind of job. Why? Because everyone would know that something is wrong with my mind. But when I cursed God, or when whoever curses God, we don't mind that, and we accept that as a normal thing. Such people don't lose their jobs. Many of them are prominent scientists, I suppose, whose mind is being admired. Why so? Because we know that God exists and we hate him, and this is the main, or it might be even the only reason why we think that with mind of such a person everything is fine and that it works properly. Let's continue. Bodies of Adam and Eve worked properly, but then they invited another spirit, another idea in themselves. They rebelled against God, and God left them on their own with their so-called savior Satan. And so human bodies started to malfunction, to get sick, to die. But God gave humans another chance. Our bodies will be destroyed, but to us it will be given another body, a better one, which will not die, nor get sick, nor hate God, nor anyone else, never ever again. And the question and our free will is, whom will we trust? Ourselves, that means Satan, as Adam and Eve did, or God? Spirits, devils, and our mind can change this and that pump, varying, and it works. We have the proof that those things work. Many people were killed, their organs cut out, and those organs were implanted into another human. His nuclear plant continued to operate. And sometimes we took drugs, and that works too, it seems at least. It works for a while. Those are lying proofs. Why lying? Because it seems that they work, but they don't work as they should. And they are lying proofs because they misguide us. Because of them we put our faith in our and God's enemy Satan, or in ourselves, and not in God. You see, sin has corrupted our bodies, a trespass against truth, love, God. But here we are. Some plants' bodies work almost fine for 40, 60, 80 years. Other bodies, plants, have difficulties from the beginning. In some plants, not in all of them, there is one or more spirits, devils, which are going around, smashing machines, cutting wires. In some plants, they are even in the control room. They have beaten you, and they took control over your body. Some people had bodies which worked just fine, but they opened the doors to other spirits. They invited devils in themselves through drugs, watching violent and sexual movies. When watching those movies, you copy such behavior, bad ideas into yourself and into your body, be it spiritual or material body. You open doors to the devils when doing yoga, spiritual exercises, making rituals. With hypnosis, you are letting other beings, spirits, to take control over you. You open the doors when trying to invoke gods in yourself. There are many ways how to surrender your free will to those evil guys. And we will be judged at the end by just judge, and he will take into account all those different starting points. And what is the criteria? Love God, true God, with all your mind, soul, heart, and love thy neighbor as thyself. There are some other criteria too. Paul writes about them, and Jesus told them to John, and are written in the book of Revelation. So you might be beaten and lying in the control room, and you turn to the Lord, your Savior, or you can be in the same situation and curse Him. It is up to you. This is your free will. It is not that all diseases and death are a result of devils in us. Some parts which are prone to malfunction we have received from our ungodly ancestors. In some people there are devils and in some aren't. And if they own you, they can give you orders, ideas, thoughts, visions as they like. You are their slave. You trust them. They can go in and out of your nuclear plant as they like. I would like to reveal one type of lying proof here, which is used to fool many people. And that is to confuse consequences with causes. If you help someone and if you remove the cause of a problem, the problem is solved once and for all. But if you are solving only consequences, the problem will always reappear somewhere, maybe in the same form, maybe somewhere else. If you are taking drugs for high pressure, your liver might be slowly destroyed and so on. And we call those drugs cures, but they are not cures because they don't cure. They are only hiding the problems. They are fixing the symptoms, the consequences, and not the real problem, the original cause. And therefore, you might believe them since they work and you can see the results. Such cheating is very good for economy and for useless work of our godless society. Only the gospel of Jesus Christ is working directly on the core problem. Only His gospel can solve the problems once and for all. All other good news are not so good when you look at them. And now I would like to show you the weakness of science to deal with many of such problems which are apparently solved by spirituality. Some people have many beings in their bodies. There are Mr. X, Mrs. Y, and so on. Psychiatrists cannot cure those so-called diseases. They can only look at symptoms and give a name to such so-called diseases. If the devils or even you are destroying your body in such and such a way, then they say you have this and that disease. And they use mostly Latin names so that people think that those doctors know what that disease is. Let's say that you would bring a car to a mechanic to fix a flat tire, but he would not be able to. He would name so-called disease your car has using Latin language. And he would name it flat tire-itis. But since that is in Latin, he would be very happy that mechanic gave you a diagnosis, even though he doesn't have a clue what is the original cause of your flat tire. He cannot repair it, change it. You have to live with it. And that's what doctors do. They fool even themselves into thinking that they know what are they doing. And yes, sometimes they cut out some organ from your body and they put in your body some mechanical organ or part of body which they took from another human being. Or they give you drugs and it seems that they have fixed the problem. But let me return to some mental diseases. In some cases, doctors figure it out that there are many personalities in one's body. They might diagnose one with multiple personality disorder or with dissociative identity disorder, as it is known today. One might have schizophrenia, and so on and so on. What can they do? Not only with those so-called diseases, but in general. They drug you, which works. They shut down your nuclear plant, and your body is peaceful. They use electroshocks. They can put electrodes in your brain, cut some brain out of your body. Actually, they are destroying your body, and they say they are repairing you, curing you. It is terrible what they are doing, terrible. But in some cases, people can take out those spirits. Such people are called exorcists. Some are only pretenders who can do more harm than good. Some are themselves fooled by spirits, devils, that they think that they really have power over demons. And exorcism is used in many different religions. Exorcists, shamans, yogis, witches, Catholic exorcists, Muslim exorcists, atheistic exorcists, Reiki masters. They cure a person, but how they cure him or her? Devils stop torturing that person for some time so that people have faith in them and in their religion, because it works. And in some cases, the devils might even cure you. Yes, they would do anything, just that one would believe them and not the Lord God. And since they are limited in power, they don't use their strength nor time in vain. They judge you how much they can get from you. That is the reason why spirits don't cure everyone nor everything. They don't care about anyone. They care only about themselves. There is a huge difference between prayer of a humble Christian and an exorcism which is performed by unbeliever, as many Protestants or Catholic or Muslim exorcists are. In the Bible there is mentioned how Jesus and his disciples and Paul cast out devils out of people. And in the Bible there are mentioned also others who are not believers and who tried to do that. And what was the reaction? The devils beat them. They were very violent. When people see such exorcisms, they are afraid of the devil and not of God. That is the devil's game. I am afraid of God, thank God. Before I was afraid of devil. If you are afraid of a good guy, you will behave good. And if you are afraid of a bad guy, you will behave bad. It is so simple. And those phony exorcists are producing in people fear of the devil. In the name of God, they are leading people toward the devil. In the name of God, they are leading people toward the devil. And they like that because the more people are afraid of the devil, the greater are they, and the smaller is God. So, do they really cast out some demons, devils? Well, they might, some of them. I don't find in the Bible that they are not able to do such things, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know everything, thank God. But I know what the occult can do and what the love can do. Psychologists are using scientific methods and theories to help people. What are those methods? They were stolen from the occult mostly, and they do more harm than good. They refuse to use the only thing that works, and that is the gospel of Jesus Christ. It is not scientific, they say. Of course it isn't. They determine what is scientific and what not. But the gospel can be understood and confirmed using common or scientific reason, sound mind. Its validity is therefore not in question, and his efficiency also not. And I cannot claim such a thing for any human or devil-made philosophy or science or witchcraft. So, the next time, if God willing, I will show you foolishness or corruptness of Galileo Galilei, and where did his, I can say, lie led millions of scientists and the whole world. And don't be afraid of science that you will not be able to understand what I will say in those videos. Science is like witchcraft, magic. It is difficult to make up a good lie, a magic trick. It works, but people are baffled, confused, because it shouldn't work. But when the trick is revealed to them, they understand. They can understand the trick in most cases, at least the basics. So, till next time, take care. Bye bye.